maybe the difference just between us in terms of how we perceive all of this is just what we emphasize. Um, you want to emphasize the sort of the earnest belief in this lack of autonomy on the part of such folks. And I guess what I want to emphasize is the lack of respect or the devaluation of said autonomy. Because look, I mean, it's perfectly acceptable to pass anti-discrimination laws which prevent a person from behaving in a discriminatory fashion towards a transgender person. But what's completely unacceptable is to think that you can somehow force someone to stop believing what they want to believe about transgender women. That's where the illiberalism comes in. And it seems to me that these people don't just want to stamp out the behavior. I mean, if that was it, then anti-discrimination laws would be enough. They want to purge the society of people with that sort of consciousness, right? And but again, that's the sense to which, and they'll do it any way they have to. They'll do it by costing you your job. They'll do it by ruining your reputation. They'll do it by any means. They'll do it even by physical assault. I mean, you know, there's an incredible video that circulated around that went viral. This professor at the University of Toronto, Jordan Peterson. We're talking about this in terms of the behavior of activists and sort of. But you have to understand that this is now all even becoming enshrined in laws, right? So there's apparently a bill, whatever they call bills in Canada, that's going to make it a legally actionable offense to refuse to use someone's preferred gender pronoun, right? So this isn't just a law regarding what I'm not allowed to say. It's now a law what I have to say, right? In other words, it's a direct invasion of one's conscience, right? And one's freedom of conscience and one's ability to speak in the manner that one thinks appropriate. And this professor, Jordan Peterson, as a professor of psychology, says, I refuse. I'm not going to use these gendered pronouns that I think are bogus, right? And I don't care if you request that I use them. I'm not going to do it. And it's outrageous that this should now become legally actionable. And there was a rally having to do with this, where a transgender, this is all on video, a transgender, and I'll link to it, a transgendered activist in the audience actually physically assaulted one of the people on the other side, and a person standing right next to this person, this individual, another activist, when the policeman came by, looked straight in the camera and smiled and said, "I didn't see anything, nothing happened." And then had like a smug smile on her face, and then gave the finger to the camera. And I just perceive that there is no lengths to which these people will not go, even outright assault, and lying about it afterwards, in order to ensure that nobody is left walking around with the wrong views, right? And I mean, how much more illiberal could one get, right?
I think that, well, we don't want to take extreme examples as representative, because even in, the more, we described the distasteful scene, what I view as the distasteful scene at Yale, but nothing ever came to blows, and that's been the case with lots and lots of protests. That's the first I'm hearing. Well, there was the Melissa Click thing, which was, ugly. But there's been very little violence, and I don't think most people who hold these views would go so far as resorting to violence. But let me answer your more fundamental point. I don't think you've quite shed your own liberal presuppositions in looking at these things. You said they don't just want to stop the behavior. They have to go farther than that and stop all the beliefs and the thinking.
That's why they're not satisfied simply with there being anti-discrimination laws. Right?
Well, the key thing you said was farther than that. Again, if you view this through the sort of more deterministic lens, they don't believe that they're going to get change by anti-discrimination laws. They believe you get it by changing the culture.
Which is your point about autonomy.
Right.
If you don't think that people are autonomous agents, then it's not enough to simply appeal to them. In other words, you have to coerce them in some way, right?
They're coerced whichever happens. It's just now they're coerced by their past and, whatever culture.
Or their implicit biases, as I've just been dealing with this. There's been a big brouhaha about the implicit association test that people have been using to show that everybody is a closet racist, and so that's just another way that they sort of go at it. It's like, even if you're consciously not a racist, right? You're unconsciously one, and that's still going to make you act racist, even if, I convince you with all the best reasons in the world, and you say, yes, I agree, I'll never do that. You're still going to be racist anyway, because it's in your unconscious, right? I take it that is also a form of a rejection of autonomy, right?
Yeah, can be. I think maybe there are more legitimate uses for thinking about implicit bias, but we don't need to prosecute that necessarily.
Yeah.